The air in the grand ballroom of the Biltmore felt thick, not just with the scent of expensive perfume and champagne, but with something much heavier expectation. And tonight, the expectation was all on Isabella, my older sister, the shining star. She was radiant in a custom-made gown holding court near the entrance, accepting congratulations with practiced grace. This was her night. The gala celebrating her promotion to senior partner at Horizon Financial, one of the biggest investment firms in the city. I stood near the back by the kitchen entrance, smoothing down the simple dark dress I'd chosen. Not too flashy. I wasn't here to be seen, not in the way Isabella was. I was here to assist. My cousin Marco, a junior associate at Isabella's firm and perpetually eager to please her, spotted me and sauntered over, a condescending smile on his face. "Ah, Amelia. Good you're here. Isabella was looking for you. Everything's set with the caterers. You know, making sure the little details are handled. She said you're a pro at this kind of stuff with your background." My background. He meant the family deli. The place where I'd spent my childhood summers stacking shelves, counting inventory, helping my parents scrape by. The place Isabella always referred to as quaint or charming, with a barely hidden air of embarrassment. The task Isabella had given me for her biggest night, liaising with the catering staff, ensuring the food service ran smoothly. My own sister asking me to coordinate the wait staff at her Triumph, implying that my real skill set lay in food service, not finance. I managed a tight smile. "Everything is under control, Marco. The caterers are professionals. They know what they're doing." Right. He chuckled, glancing past me towards the glittering crowd. Still good to have someone with hands-on experience. You know, Isabella's got the big picture stuff tonight. The networking, the strategy, the real finance. He winked, a gesture that felt like a pat on the head. Wouldn't want her to worry about the canapes. He drifted away, back towards the center of the room, back towards the light, back towards Isabella. The smile stayed frozen on my face, but inside something shifted. Marco's words, Isabella's unspoken condescension, the familiar feeling of being the invisible one, the little deli girl who just happened to get a decent education. It all converged in that moment. The years of subtle slights, of being overlooked, of having my actual accomplishments minimized or ignored by my own family, especially Isabella, for whom only her kind of success counted. It all exploded into a cold, quiet rage. I looked across the room at Isabella, basking in the glow of her achievement, surrounded by adoring relatives and influential colleagues. She truly believed she was at the pinnacle, the part of the iceberg that everyone sees. As Grandpa used to say, she had no idea about the massive unseen structure beneath the surface. Hands-on experience. I murmured to myself, the phrase loaded with Marco's intended meaning, but taking on a new powerful significance in my mind. Oh, I have hands-on experience, Marco, more than you could ever imagine. My smile widened, no longer strained but sharp and private. They wanted me to be the help, fine. I would play the part. But I wasn't just serving canapes. I was serving a revelation, a reckoning. To understand why a seemingly small slight at a party became the trigger for something much, much bigger. I said, my voice low, almost a whisper in the grand hall, but resonating with a power known only to me, and why the glittering world Isabella inhabited was about to crack wide open. I have to go back to the wisdom of my grandfather, back to the deli. My grandpa Mateo wasn't a man of formal education, but he was one of the wisest people I've ever known. He ran a small Cuban deli in Little Havana, Miami, a place of bustling activity, loud conversations in Spanish, and the comforting smell of café con leche and pastries. It was more than a store. It was the heart of our family, a cornerstone of the community. Grandpa Mateo taught me about success. Not the kind you read about in magazines, but the real kind. Mija, he'd say, his eyes crinkling at the corners, gesturing with flour-dusted hands. Success is like an iceberg. What people see is just the tip, the part above the water. It looks small, sometimes flashy, But the real success, the part that keeps it from sinking, the part that gives it weight and power, that is the foundation beneath the surface. The hard work, the sacrifices, the knowledge, no one sees the integrity you build when no one is looking. I didn't fully grasp the depth of his words, then not as a child, but I lived them. From the age of 9, my summers and weekends were spent at the deli. I started by packing pastry boxes, learning the rhythm of the business. Soon, I knew all the regulars' names, their usual orders. By 13, I was helping with inventory, spotting discrepancies in the ledger my uncle had missed. I wasn't just an extra pair of hands. I was learning the mechanics of a real business. While my friends were playing soccer or hanging out at the mall, I was fascinating by the numbers, calculating profit margins on Cuban sandwiches, figuring out the most efficient way to manage supplier orders, reading books my grandpa brought home from the library about operations management and scaling a business. Grandpa saw it. He called me his business brain, his little strategist. This one, he'd tell my parents, tapping my head gently. She will do something big, something important. She understands the foundation. My parents, Amelia Sr. and Hector, worked tirelessly from dawn until long after dark, pouring every ounce of their energy into the deli. They wanted more for me and Isabella. They wanted us to have opportunities they never had. Their ultimate goal was to send us to good universities, to give us a chance at a life beyond the deli's long hours and tight margins. Their sacrifices fueled my determination. Earning good grades felt like the bare minimum. I owed them more than just academic achievement. I owed them a future that justified their exhaustion, their aching backs, their calloused hands. Isabella, my older sister, took a different path from the start. She was beautiful, outgoing, naturally charismatic. She excelled in school too, but her focus was always on the visible markers of success. The right clothes, the right friends, the right clubs. She went to a prestigious business school, followed the traditional path up the corporate ladder, landing a coveted job at one of Miami's top investment firms, Horizon Financial. She moved in a world of glass towers, designer suits, and exclusive networking events. She was the part of the iceberg everyone saw, and she reveled in the spotlight. Isabella loved me in her way, but there was always that underlying current of condescension, a fond amusement for my deli background. Ada, my comfort in jeans and t-shirts, my preference for substance over style. She was always trying to polish me to fit me into her world. When I talked about my own growing interests in fintech and data-driven micro-lending platforms, ideas that grew directly from seeing the financial struggles of the deli's customers, the small business owners in our community, she'd nod vaguely. At family dinners, she would often, with a dismissive wave of her hand, refer to my work. Amelia's still doing her little app, helping small businesses, It's sweet. Or, oh, Amelia, she's busy with her deli finances, keeping the books for the family. She never seemed to grasp the scale or sophistication of what I was actually building. She saw the deli girl, the quiet one, who was good with numbers, not the CEO of a rapidly growing technology company. And I let her. I even found a strange satisfaction in her underestimation. It was my secret weapon. I embraced being the invisible one. While Isabella was networking and attending galas, I was building Phoenix Solutions. It started small, just an idea born from seeing hardworking people in Little Havana needing capital and being ignored by traditional banks. Using the principles I learned from Grandpa, lean operations, understanding the customer, deeply building trust, managing risk meticulously, combined with my finance education and self-taught coding skills, I built a data-driven micro-lending platform. It was designed to assess creditworthiness based on alternative data to serve the underserved. Phoenix Solutions wasn't a sweet little app. It was revolutionary. It quickly gained traction within the immigrant community in Miami and beyond. Its success was quiet, organic, fueled by results and word of mouth. By the time I was 28, Phoenix Solutions was generating millions in revenue, a profitable, scalable enterprise. I kept it private, off the radar of the big investment world Isabella inhabited. My name wasn't plastered on billboards. I operated in the shadows, building a solid foundation. Around that time, I met Ryan. Not at a fancy party, but at a quiet coffee shop near my office. He was a history professor at a local university, dedicated kind, with a deep commitment to social justice. He saw me, Amelia, not the deli girl or the tech CEO. He saw the person. We connected on a level that felt real honest. He was genuinely interested in my work not because of the money it made, but because of the impact it had on people's lives. He became my anchor, my confidant. He knew about Phoenix Solutions, about my quiet success, about my family dynamics. He was the first person outside my professional circle who truly understood the iceberg. Our relationship grew, quickly built on mutual respect and shared values. He proposed 6 months later. I said yes without hesitation. My parents were overjoyed. Isabella gave her blessing, telling Ryan he was a lucky man to find someone as sweet and grounded as me, still with that subtle, patronizing tone. Meanwhile, Phoenix Solutions continued to grow. And as it grew, my vision expanded. It wasn't enough to just serve the underserved. I saw opportunities in the larger financial landscape, inefficiencies, outdated models. And I saw the potential to apply Phoenix's principles on a much larger scale. This led to the next phase of my plan. I didn't just continue building Phoenix Solutions. I quietly, methodically began acquiring shares in other financial institutions, not just any firms. I targeted companies that were ripe for disruption, companies that relied on old technology and outdated thinking. One of those companies was Horizon Financial, the place where Isabella worked, the epitome of the part of the iceberg everyone sees. I started buying shares through a complex web of holding companies, investment funds, and proxies. My identity as the true owner remained completely hidden. The goal wasn't just expansion, it was strategic leverage. Ryan wasn't just my supportive partner, he became my confidant in this plan. He knew about the acquisition strategy, about me targeting Horizon Financial. He understood the deeper meaning behind it, not just business, but a validation of my grandfather's lessons, a quiet refutation of my family's dismissal. He wasn't involved in the technical or financial execution, but he was my emotional rock, my sounding board, the person who reminded me why I was doing this, not just what I was doing. His belief in me was unwavering. The opportunity to execute my plan arrived when Isabella announced her gala. Her text was casual, breezy. "Big night coming up, celebrating my promotion. So excited, I was thinking with your background, maybe you could help coordinate the catering staff. Make sure everything runs smoothly. It would be a huge help. You're so good with that kind of stuff." The text landed like a small, sharp stone in my gut. Coordinate the catering staff. At her senior partner gala, me, the little deli girl, relegated to the kitchen entrance while she shone in the ballroom. It was the perfect casual dismissal, the ultimate reduction of my worth to her perception of my past. But then the cold calm returned. This wasn't an insult to endure. This was an invitation, the perfect stage, the perfect audience, the perfect moment to reveal the foundation beneath the tip. I texted her back. "Sure, Isabella, happy to help. Just let me know the details." I immediately contacted my CFO at Phoenix Solutions. "Activate the final phase, Avery," I told him. "Tonight, make sure the acquisition paperwork is finalized and delivered at precisely 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time to the Horizon Financial Board and CEO. My CFO understood. The timing had to be perfect, irreversible, delivered right in the middle of Isabella's moment. Weeks passed. I played my part. I attended meetings with the catering manager, discussing menus and timelines. I confirmed staffing levels. I answered Isabella's occasional texts about napkin colors and floral arrangements, all while the final pieces of a multi-million-dollar corporate takeover were clicking into place under my direction. The night of the gala arrived. The Biltmore Ballroom was transformed into a scene of opulent celebration. Crystal chandeliers glittered, music swirled, and the air hummed with the self-importance of Miami's financial elite. Isabella was the center of attention, radiant, accepting accolades. Her family, my parents, my brother, other cousins and aunts, gathered around her, beaming with pride. They were so focused on the tip of the iceberg, They were completely blind to the foundation shifting beneath the surface. I moved through the periphery, checking in with the catering staff, ensuring the stations were stocked, the servers were circulating. I wore the simple dark dress blending into the background, just as Isabella expected. Ryan was there, mingling quietly, occasionally catching my eye, with a small knowing smile that was both supportive and conspiratorial. He was my anchor in the storm of my own making. At precisely 8:25 p.m., my phone vibrated. An encrypted message from my CFO. Phase complete, papers delivered, ignition sequence initiated. A moment later, another message. Just received confirmation. James Valen wants to meet the founder of Solera Capital immediately. He's at the Gala. Solera Capital was one of the anonymous holding companies I used to acquire Horizon shares. James Valen wanted to meet the mysterious founder. He didn't know he already knew her. He didn't know she was coordinating the hors d'oeuvres. My heart hammered against my ribs, but my mind was clear. The timing was perfect. It was showtime. I saw James Valen, a tall, imposing figure, being approached by a hurried assistant. The assistant handed him a tablet. As he read the screen, his smile vanished. His face went from confident to confused, then to outright panic. He looked around the room wildly, his eyes scanning the crowd. Isabella, seeing the sudden change in her CO, rushed towards him, concern etched on her face. "Mr. Valen, is everything all right?" He didn't seem to hear her at first. He was still scanning the room, his gaze frantic. Then his eyes landed on me, standing by the dessert table adjusting a plate of pastries. He paused. A look of recognition, then disbelief, crossed his face. Isabella, following his gaze, laughed nervously. "Oh, that's just my sister Amelia. She helped coordinate the service tonight. She's more comfortable behind the scenes." Her words, delivered with that familiar, condescending affection, were the last echo of the old dynamic. James Valen cut her off. He walked directly towards me, ignoring Isabella's sputtering. The crowd, sensing the shift in energy, began to quiet, watching the CEO's unexpected trajectory across the room. He stopped in front of me. His voice, usually booming, was hushed, laced with disbelief. "Ms. Morales," I used my mother's maiden name professionally, another layer of anonymity. "Amelia Morales, I didn't expect to see you, overseeing the pastries at your own company's acquisition announcement." Isabella finally caught up her face, a mask of confusion and dawning horror. "Morales, what? No, this is Amelia Perez, my sister. She runs a little business, a deli. She's just helping with the service." I looked at Isabella. All the years of being unseen, unheard, underestimated. The little app, the deli finances, coordinating the service. It culminated in this moment. I turned back to James Valen, offering a small, calm smile. "Yes, Mr. Valen," I said, my voice clear and steady, carrying just enough to silence the surrounding whispers. "Amelia Perez, also known professionally as Amelia Morales, founder and CEO of Phoenix Solutions." I paused, letting the words hang in the air. Then I delivered the final blow, the culmination of years of work, the truth of the foundation rising to shatter the tip of the iceberg. And as of precisely 8:30 p.m. tonight, I announced, my voice ringing with quiet authority. Phoenix Solutions has completed its acquisition of a 51% controlling stake in Horizon Financial, including, I believe, Ms. Isabella Perez's department. Silence descended like a physical weight. Utter, complete, stunned silence. The music seemed to fade. Every eye in the ballroom was on me. Isabella's face went white. Her champagne glass slipped from her trembling fingers, shattering on the marble floor, a sound that echoed the fracturing of her reality. She stared at me, her eyes wide with disbelief, then transforming into pure, unadulterated fury. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. My parents looked from Isabella to me, their faces a mixture of shock and confusion. My brother looked simply bewildered. Isabella stumbled back, pushing past people fleeing the ballroom, leaving her moment of triumph in shards on the floor. My mother, Rosa, started to follow her, calling her name. I remained standing there, the center of a suddenly frozen universe. I calmly took a full champagne glass from a tray offered by a passing waiter, the irony not lost on me. I tapped the glass lightly with a fork. "If I could have everyone's attention," I said, my voice projecting across the stunned crowd. My name is Amelia Perez, CEO of Phoenix Solutions, and now the majority owner of Horizon Financial. I gave a brief, concise explanation of Phoenix Solutions' work, its success, and the strategic vision behind acquiring Horizon Financial, focusing on innovation value and building a stronger, more ethical financial future. I didn't dwell on the personal drama, just stated the facts of the business transaction. Then I made another announcement. As part of this new chapter, Phoenix Solutions is proud to announce the establishment of the Mateo Perez Foundation for Opportunity, named in honor of my grandfather. Funded generously by this acquisition, the foundation will focus on providing training resources and micro-lending support to underserved communities and small business owners starting right here in Miami. I paused, then looked towards the direction Isabella had fled. And I would like to announce that I am appointing Ms. Isabella Perez to lead this initiative. Her skills in marketing and public relations, previously focused on appearances, will now be directed towards building real impact and providing tangible support to those who need it most, a foundation built on genuine sweat equity. A murmuring went through the crowd, appointing the very person who had just been dethroned, assigning her a role that was a world away from the glamorous investment banking she craved. It was a clear message, a public redirection of her talents, a subtle refutation of her values framed as an opportunity. Isabella, who had apparently returned to the edge of the ballroom after hearing her name mentioned, stood frozen, speechless. The immediate aftermath of the gala was a blur of stunned questions, hurried congratulations from people who had previously overlooked me, and panicked whispers. My family was in shock. My parents came over, their faces pale, not fully understanding what had just happened. Later that night, or perhaps the next day, the real confrontation happened. Isabella cornered me, her face contorted with rage and humiliation. "How could you?" she shrieked, her voice raw. "You did this on purpose? To embarrass me? To ruin my night, to ruin my career in front of everyone who matters?" "Camilla," I replied calmly, using her name. "No, Isabella, I didn't do this to ruin your night. I did this to claim my place, to show everyone, including you, the reality you chose to ignore." She paced, throwing her hands up. "My career, everything I worked for. You stripped it away. You expect me to work for you in some charity division. You'll be leading a foundation, Isabella," I corrected, my voice firm. "One that embodies the values Grandpa Mateo taught us. Real value built from the ground up, not just shuffling papers in a glass tower." "Values," she scoffed. "What about loyalty? What about family? You humiliated me. You embarrassed me in front of Whitmore, in front of everyone." "You embarrassed yourself, Isabella," I said, stepping closer, my voice low and intense, revisiting the pain she had inflicted over the years. "You did that every time you dismissed my work, every time you called my passion a little app, every time you treated me like I was less than you because I didn't fit into your mold, every time you asked me to coordinate the help at your party because you thought that was my place. I simply stopped you from doing it again. And I showed everyone the real foundation of my success, the one you never saw or refused to see." My father, Hector, who had always been quieter, especially when Isabella was dominating the conversation, stepped forward. His eyes were filled with a mixture of pride, regret, and dawning understanding. "Isabella," he said softly, "Amelia is right. Your grandfather, he saw it. He always saw it. We were so focused on the tip of the iceberg for so long. We forgot to look beneath the surface. We were wrong." Ryan came to stand beside me, a quiet presence, his hand resting lightly on my back. His presence said everything. I was not alone. I was supported. Isabella looked at me, at Dad, at Ryan. She saw the unified front built on honesty and respect, things she had overlooked. She scoffed, tears of fury streaming down her face. "I won't work for you. You can't make me, no. I agreed calmly. I can't make you work. But everyone in Miami's financial world knows what happened tonight. They know Phoenix Solutions owns Horizon. They know I own Phoenix Solutions. And they know why this happened. Your reputation is now defined by this moment. The foundation position is an opportunity to build something real, something that might actually earn you respect beyond your title. Or you can choose nothing. That's your decision. She stared at me, her world crumbling. She had defined herself by her position, her title, her appearance of success. And I had just taken it all away publicly. Later, the confrontations with other family members were less dramatic, mostly hesitant attempts to understand or express shock. Some were genuinely proud, though confused. Others were clearly disappointed that their shining star had fallen. They had to reconcile the Amelia from the deli with the woman who now owned Isabella's company. The next few months were a whirlwind of merging Phoenix Solutions and Horizon financial restructuring, changing the corporate culture to value substance and ethics over optics and connections. Isabella, after days of angry silence, eventually accepted the foundation position. It was a difficult adjustment for her, but perhaps a necessary one. Working directly with communities with real needs forced her to look beyond the surface. Ryan and I continued building our life together, our relationship stronger than ever, built on a foundation of honesty, respect, and shared values. He saw me at my most vulnerable, my most ruthless, and my most triumphant. And he loved me for all of it. The iceberg principle taught to me in a small deli in Little Havana became the guiding philosophy of the new company. We invested in the foundation, in our people, in ethical practices, in long-term value creation, not just short-term profits and flashy appearances. The Mateo Perez Foundation for Opportunity became a cornerstone of our work, a constant reminder of where I came from and who I was truly building for. My journey wasn't just about counting coins in a deli or counting millions in capital. It was about the real wealth integrity resilience and the unwavering courage to know my own value, even when the people closest to me chose to be blind. So here is my message from the woman who was once overlooked to anyone who feels unseen, undervalued, or underestimated. Never let anyone else define your worth, especially not the people who are supposed to love you. Keep building even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching, because that is when the true foundation is laid. That is when character is forged. That is when you build the part of the iceberg that can never be sunk. Believe in the foundation, build the foundation, and one day, the tip that everyone sees will rise naturally, undeniable, and strong because of the unseen power beneath. After Amelia Perez, the invisible deli girl, became the majority owner of her sister's company and publicly revealed her truth, do you think Isabella will ever truly change and understand the value of the foundation? Or is she too trapped by the pursuit of the tip? And how do you navigate relationships with family members who have consistently underestimated or disrespected you even after you achieve significant success? Please comment your opinion below.